Hey everyone, it's your girl Jassy, aka J Renee, back at it again with another video. So as you saw in the thumbnail, today we're going to be upcycling these two shirts, dress shirts, button-down shirts, whatever you want to call them. I don't know where I got these two shirts from, but these are women's button-down shirts, and you can find these at the local thrift store. But let's get into it. For this one, we're gonna cut them in half. Starting with this dark one. Doesn't really matter which one you start with, but we're going to cut it in half all the way up to the top. The best way to do this is to fold it in half on its outside, like I'm doing here. Fold it and then cut it right on that line. You probably want to take the tags off, like seam rip them off before you cut them out, because that just is the logical thing to do. I don't know why I didn't do it, but yeah. So before we sew these down, we just wanted to iron them out. I don't really know why I ironed them out first, but yeah. So I just seam ripped that cuff piece, and then we're going to pin them on the right sides together and pin them right on that line we cut off. I didn't choose any specific way to do this or which sides I was going to use for which, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to pin them down like so, and then send them to the sewing machine. I'm using an overlock stitch here with using my presser foot as a guide, just straight all the way down. And then I'm going to go back over that and top stitch it, because we love a top stitch, make it all look professional. You might want to use the same thread. Moving on, we're going to make 5 lines across the front of the two shirts that we pinned together, about 1/4 inch apart, right around your waistline area, maybe a little higher than that where your stomach is. And we're just going to make 5 lines and trace that out in chalk, because with these 5 lines we're going to take it to the sewing machine and sew a basting stitch down over those 5 lines. So as you can see here, we're just sewing it down. Do not back stitch at the beginning or the end, and usually just cut it off so you can have a tail of thread hanging so we can pull it later. So just keep going on both sides. You want to use a thread color that is the same as your tops, because I didn't, and this one is a lot lighter than this dark one here. And so now I'm just trying to make sure all the threads are not twisted up in anything, and we're going to pull this top thread, the top threads of all 5 lines that we just sewed on. I'm going to pull them so they can ruch together in uniformity, so they'll look like that in the end. And we have to do that to both sides, of course, and just pull them, pull them, pull them, pull them, pull them all the way in. And if you wanted to measure like how much to pull, you can always try it on and make sure you know how much exactly you want to pull. So going on to the sewing machine, I'm going to do a straight stitch with back stitching, a tighter stitch, and just sew all that ruching into place, just like you see here, all of the lines. And now this is how it looks, but oops, we have a problem, and we don't like this. So we're gonna add a button. Thankfully, one of the shirts had an extra button, and so we're just gonna mark down where we want to put this button on both the top and the bottom of the shirt after we lined it up, and place the button down. Get the thread that we wanted, same color and everything. Thread your needle and tie it at the end and start sewing. We're going to prick the fabric and then prick it again and pull it through the loop to make a knot. Then we're going to go in, you know how to hand sew, you're going to go in from the bottom and stitch the same way as the other buttons are, just like that, all secure. And now we have to make a buttonhole. My machine has a buttonhole foot, it has all of that, but honestly I don't know how to use it, and this book don't help me, and I just don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna use a small zigzag stitch and do my best to try to mimic a buttonhole as much as I can. It didn't really come out the way I needed it to, but it's okay, it still works. I use a really small zigzag stitch on the sides, and then a wider one at the top, with the stitches being close together. That's how it looks here. And so I'm just taking a seam ripper and ripping that fabric that was in there and ripping that apart. And that's how it looks. And again, use the same thread that we've used before. This is how it turned out, and this one is pretty cool. It's pretty cute, and it was kind of simple, really. I did add another button, I think, but this one was really cute, and I love it so much, like I do everything else I make. But let's move on. So the other two halves of this shirt, we're gonna cut in half right at the waistline, not waistline, but torso line, I don't know, the stomach line, something like that. And we're introducing another button down shirt here. This one is a lot larger, and we're only going to use the bottom half. And so we're going to cut that in half all the way across, and I'm showing you how the end result is going to look here with those two on top and that one on bottom. So first we have to sew together the top two. That's the first thing on the agenda for this one. We're gonna sew them down just like we did before, with top stitching and everything. And that's how it came out. So now we have to cut that off and make sure it's even on the back and the front. And now we're gonna add this blue bottom skirt part, whatever you want to call it. And so I'm making sure that right sides are facing. The top part of the shirt is turned upside down, and then making sure the right sides are facing. We're gonna pin the two ends and the middle part just like that. I don't know if you can tell what I'm doing here, but I unbuttoned it and make sure that everything was on the right side. And so there was a lot more blue circumference than it was the gray ones, so I had to fold and overlap some of the blue parts in order for it to fit, which is okay because I'm going to add elastic on the waistband anyway. So if you can tell here, I'm just folding and overlapping this blue fabric together with the gray one. Then we are going to straight stitch, sew that down. Moving on to the sewing machine, you know the deal, just a straight stitch down across this all the way down. And I am top stitching as well. And don't worry, we are almost finished here. So this little skirt thing, I don't know what it is. I'm just needing the elastic that's in it from this waistband. I think this came from like a jumper or a romper or something like that. And so I'm going to seam rip off this elastic. If you have this thin elastic, you should get it. I didn't have any at the time, so I had to use my resources. I cut the size that I wanted for my waist, and I'm going to now use it for the waistband. I see here I'm cutting off the tags when I should have done that in the first place. But now I'm going to pin the ends of the elastic to the ends of the shirt on the waistband, and then take it to my sewing machine and sew it down. So while I'm sewing, I'm stretching the elastic as I go along, so then it will be stretchy and ruche together. So I'm pulling the elastic while I'm sewing, so in the end it will all stretch. And so this is how it turned out, which is actually surprisingly, it looks good. It looked good. I wasn't expecting that, but it looks really good. And so just cut off all your excess strings. And this last part, since the top two shirts didn't match up with the bottom, the way the bottom shirt was buttoned, I'm just sewing down the bottom part and buttons together so it doesn't like look weird or anything, if you know what I mean, because you can tell that the buttons were on top instead of on bottom, and whatever, it's big enough that you can step through the dress anyway. So I'm just gonna make a straight seam down there, and after that we are finished. That's how this one turned out. Look, this was actually really cute. And this was on my Depop, but somebody just bought it like a week ago, so yeah. But this one was really cute and I loved it so much, and I just might do more of them. because I love the two-tone look. But thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Subscribe and stay tuned. Bye.